Cold reckoning. My neighbor reported my garden, so I won the city contract. She planted flowers. Her neighbor made a phone call. And that one phone call handed her a government contract worth more than he makes in a year. This is the story of how one woman turned a city complaint into the most satisfying professional victory you'll ever hear about, and how karma decided to deliver it directly to her neighbor's front sidewalk. Stay with me, because this one gets good. Margaret Ellison had lived on Birchwood Lane in Eugene, Oregon for 11 years. She wasn't loud. She didn't throw parties. She didn't let her dog dig up anyone's lawn. What she did do was garden. Her front yard was a living, breathing ecosystem. Native wildflowers, pollinator plants, drought-resistant ground cover, lavender that buzzed with bees every summer morning. To her, it was beautiful. To her neighbor, Dale Hutchins, it was a problem. Dale didn't like the wild look. He preferred manicured hedges, uniform grass, the kind of yard that looks like it came out of a 1987 HOA catalog. So one Tuesday in May, without saying a single word to Margaret, Dale called the city. He reported her garden as a nuisance, called it overgrown, said it was lowering property values. 3 days later, Margaret got a letter in the mail. A formal warning from the city of Eugene. She had 30 days to bring her yard into compliance or face fines. Here's where most people would have just given up. Cut the flowers, planted sod, gone quiet. But Margaret wasn't most people. She was a landscape designer by training, self-employed, working small residential contracts, and she knew something Dale didn't. Her garden wasn't a mess, it was a method. Every plant she had chosen was native to the Pacific Northwest. Every inch of that yard was designed to reduce water runoff, support local pollinators, and lower urban heat. It was, by every environmental standard, exactly what cities were trying to encourage. So instead of pulling up her flowers, Margaret pulled out her camera. She photographed every plant. She labeled every species. She printed out Oregon State University research on native landscaping. She wrote a 14-page document explaining the ecological value of her garden, with citations. And then she submitted a formal rebuttal to the city. She didn't stop there. She started keeping a log, every conversation, every letter, every date. If this was going to become a legal issue, she was going to have a paper trail that told her story perfectly. Now, before we get to the twist, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been reported, complained about, or targeted by a neighbor for something completely unfair? Drop it in the comments, because after what happens next, I think you're going to have a lot to say. While Margaret was fighting her warning notice, she heard about something. The city of Eugene was launching a Sustainable Landscapes Initiative, a competition open to residents and small businesses. The goal: find the best model for low-water, native, pollinator-friendly landscaping that could be replicated across public spaces. The prize wasn't money. The prize was a city contract to design and maintain public green spaces across Eugene. Margaret looked at her 14-page rebuttal document. She looked at her photographed, labeled, research-backed garden. And she thought, why not? She entered the contest with a full portfolio, her front yard as the centerpiece, her documentation as the proof of concept, her design philosophy as the vision. She didn't just submit photos, she submitted a complete urban landscaping plan, species lists, cost projections, maintenance schedules, environmental impact estimates. It was, in short, exactly what the city had been looking for. Margaret won. Not second place, not an honorable mention. First place. Unanimous decision by the review panel. The city didn't just give her a certificate, they offered her a formal contract to redesign and maintain several public landscaping corridors throughout Eugene. Sidewalk medians, park borders, community green spaces. The project was valued at over $180,000 over 3 years. The same garden Dale called a nuisance became the blueprint for how Eugene wanted its public spaces to look. And here's where you need to subscribe to Cold Reckoning, because we don't just tell you the story stopped there. If you're new here, this channel is built for stories exactly like this one. Real people, real situations, real outcomes that nobody saw coming. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We drop new stories every week, and I promise you they only get more satisfying. As part of her contract, Margaret was assigned a list of streets in Eugene that needed landscaping upgrades. She opened the project file. She looked at the addresses. And there it was. Birchwood Lane. Her street, her block. Including, directly in front of Dale Hutchins' house, a section of public sidewalk and median strip that was now her professional responsibility to redesign. Margaret did not skip that block. She did not request a reassignment. She showed up on schedule with her crew, and she landscaped that sidewalk with the same native wildflowers, the same pollinator plants, the same messy ecological beauty that Dale had once called the city to complain about. Professionally installed, city-approved, permanent. Dale Hutchins looks out his window every single day at a garden that is nearly identical to the one he reported. Except this one belongs to the city of Eugene. And Margaret is the one getting paid to maintain it. She didn't get revenge. She got a contract. And sometimes that's so much better. I'm Cold Reckoning, and justice, when it comes, always finds the right address. See you next week. Subscribe for weekly stories of real-world justice. Comment below. Has a neighbor ever reported you?